Hello everyone, I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lines TV. Welcome to one of the first of the transfer stories I will be releasing throughout the week. For today's video, I'm going to be focusing on January transfer targets that we're looking at. So if you like this video, smash that like button, help me get more than 500 likes for today's video, and press the bell notification button as well to stay tuned to all things Blue Lines TV. And also, if you haven't watched yesterday's big video, I suggest you do that. It's going to give us the full context as to what's happening behind the scenes with our club. Now, before I get straight into the video, let me just give you guys an introduction so I can paint the picture and give you full context in regards to what our plans are for the transfer window. Now, we're looking at players that can play on the right wing as a striker, back up to Kante and Jorginho, and a right back as well. Now, the types of players that Chelsea are looking for are players that have very high potential and has the potential to be the next big thing. We only want to make signings that are going to improve the squad and improve the team. Now, when it comes to January, the most likely position we are going to strengthen is going to be the striker position. Other positions we're looking at are most likely going to happen in the summer. But as I said, we are looking at a striker. Now, there's more context in regards to this. The striker we're hoping to bring in January isn't going to be signed with the intention of being the first choice striker. Now, hear me out for a second. What I mean is, Chelsea want to sign a big name striker in the summer. The striker we're looking at for this window is someone that can replace Morata and can replace Giroud. And he's also a striker that's going to understand this role for next season and is going to be happy and content at being the squad option for next season. Now, when it comes to that big name striker, Chelsea can only fund a move if Giroud, Morata and Mitchell are all sold, because what they're hoping to do is use the transfer funds made from the selling of those three players and put it in for a big name striker for the summer. Marseille are interested in Giroud, but when it comes to Mitchell and Morata, it is a bit complicated. Morata is a tricky one because the club have been looking to sell him for a while now, but the issue is that if Sarri stops using him, what that means is his transfer value is going to drop, and the more his value drops, the harder it makes it for us to sell the guy. And because of this, there are pressures from the club on Sarri in a way to make sure that he is still using Morata fairly, because again, if you want a replacement to come in for him, Sarri, we need to make sure that we can sell Morata in the first place. Now, when it comes to the selling of Morata, the club have been quite creative in regards to the options they're exploring when it comes to selling him. Now, loan deals have been discussed, and also player swap deals have been discussed as well. So for tomorrow's video, I'm going to let you know some of the transfer targets for the summer, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But getting back to the January options we're looking at, as I've already said, the striker we're looking at in January is going to be the backup for next season, and because of that, the club are looking at a more older, experienced player for the backup striker role. And for next summer, we're looking at a young player that has very high potential and high profile to be that #1 striker at Chelsea. Now, that's enough of the introduction. I'm getting straight into things now, starting with the story on the player that Sarri has spoken to quite a few times personally, and that is Driss Martens of Napoli. Now, I am quite annoyed with this story because I was hoping to break this first. Of course, reports that come out over the past 2 days, I think Mertens had an interview with the Times, and he basically hinted at a potential move to us. But you know that with my videos, I always provide that context behind the scenes, and I can tell you that Sarri has spoken to Driss Martens quite a few times, asking about him possibly coming to Chelsea. I can also tell you guys that Driss Martens has actually inquired about the Premier League to all his Belgium teammates in the national team. Now, how do I know this? Well, obviously my source works with football players. One of his clients is a Belgium international, so this is how I was fortunate to hear this. I can also tell you guys as well that Driss Martens is actually fine with Chelsea's policy of only giving players over 30 a one-year deal. And Driss Martens' interview with the Times actually came at quite a perfect moment, because he's basically hinting at a reunion with Sarri. His contract expires in 2020. Now, with this bit of information, it's the only thing that I haven't been able to 100% confirm, so apologies for that. But from what I've heard, Mertens' release clause has expired now. His release clause was 24.7 million, and I've heard that Napoli are quite frustrated because it means that they can't command as much money for Mertens. But when it comes to Mertens, Napoli of course have their own plans for life without him, and they've actually spoken to Genoa's president, and this is something that Genoa's president did confirm in an interview. And Napoli asked about Piatek and Kouami, and Piatek is the #1 option that Napoli want for next season. Now, it's not the first time that Sarri speaks to players that he's interested in. Of course, he did the same thing with Higuain, and in another video I will release in the next few days, I will be talking about the midfield players that we are looking at to improve the team, and Sarri has actually asked about 2 young midfield players from Serie A. Now, here's where I give my opinions on the story, and it makes quite a lot of sense. Number 1, he fits the profile of backup striker for next season we are looking at. Number 2, if you sign Mertens, it allows Hazard to play on the left. It doesn't mean that he has to play as a striker anymore. Of course, Mertens has worked under Sarri already, and with Mertens, he's very versatile and he can play across everywhere in the front 3. Now, Driss Martens' recent interview gave even more hints towards a potential move to us. As you can see beside me, Driss says that, "I love it here, but maybe in 1 year I'm free, so maybe you never know. Maybe Sarri is gonna call me, we will see." And this is a pressure tactic from Mertens to pressure Napoli into selling him in January, because Driss has already told them that once my contract expires, I potentially don't want to stay here. So this makes me feel even more confident that Driss Martens is going to be one of our likely signings in January. Now, of course, I was speaking earlier about Driss being happy to accept our policy of only getting a year's contract. That does make quite a lot of sense because he could potentially be playing again under Sarri. They have a very good relationship with each other, and it's natural that the player is going to trust the manager. So it's okay if he agrees to a 1-year term, knowing that Sarri is still going to use him, giving him that sense of stability. Now, the only stumbling block in this move would come down to Chelsea. Sarri in his head wants Mertens to come. Mertens wants to come as well. It's up to Chelsea in regards to whether the money makes sense for this deal. Now, that's actually something I can't really tell you right now, but if you ask my opinion, I feel this move makes a lot of sense. Remember, we're signing him with the intention of him being a squad player in the future. You have to realise, if Driss stays here for maybe 2 years or 3, that's going to pave the way for us to bring in someone like a Tammy who could potentially be ready in the next few years. The club still rate him very highly, and I think with Mertens coming now, it does improve our front 3 even more. He would be a better striker than Giroud and Morata, and as I said earlier, the most important thing for me is it would mean that Hazard doesn't have to play up front and he can play in his best position down the left. Now, there's a few more options being looked at for January. One of those options is Jamie Vardy of Leicester. Again, he's another experienced player. The club have done extensive scouting on him over the past few years. He's always been a player that has been asked about by the club, and to be honest, that's the only context I can provide to this story. Again, as I was saying, he fits that profile, he makes sense. It's natural that he would accept a backup role for next season, and that's obvious because he'll be signing for a club that has the chance of winning trophies. The guy's 32 years old now, and it would be the final time for him to try and win some more trophies before his career comes to an end. I think from a tactical point of view, Vardy would make sense in the system. I feel that all his best work is off the ball. The guy constantly likes to make runs in behind and stretch defenses. He's a very clinical finisher as well, and he's very confident and self-driven. He's one of those players where if he misses a chance, that's not going to affect him for the next one. And one of the benefits of Jamie Vardy is the fact that he is a homegrown player, and we do need more homegrown players in the squads. Now, moving on to another target we're looking at, and this one's quite ambitious for the window. That is Edinson Cavani. Sarri's always been a big fan, I've been told, and Tuchel actually wants to sell. He's been experimenting a lot more with Mbappe and Neymar playing up front together, and Cavani's always the first one to get subbed off out of that front 3. Now, Cavani's contract expires in 2020, and over the past 2 years, it's always felt like Cavani will be leaving Paris Saint-Germain. Atletico Madrid were very close to re-signing him. And when it comes to the interest in Cavani, I mean, obviously, it does make a lot of sense. The guy is a world-class striker, but he's really the fantasy option being looked at, and it comes down to whether the money is right for a potential deal. Now, the positive with Cavani is that he wouldn't cost so much money now because his contract is close to expiring, but the main stumbling blocks will be his wages. He's on about 200k per week at Paris Saint-Germain, and of course, he's a player that's not going to accept signing a 1-year deal. And from how I see things personally, I feel like it's going to be another situation similar to Edin Dzeko. Now, we did try to bend the rules for Dzeko in January, and it's such a big shame now that we weren't able to actually sign the guy. But I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea offered Cavani a 1.5 year contract, as well well as giving him clauses in his contract to activate extended years of the deal depending on whether he makes club goals. As I always said back then when we were linked with Dzeko, it's natural that players, especially older ones, want that stability in their careers. You can't move to another country for only a 1-year deal. It makes no sense. What if you get injured and you don't play and you don't get a new contract? What do you do then? You know, players have families, they have responsibilities. You have to think of every measure before you make a final decision. Now for me, Cavani would be a fantastic player. I love Cavani, his movement, his finishing as well. I think he would really complement that front three. And he's one of the best poachers in the world. Now you guys, that was the 3 main striker targets that I have been hearing about. I've got a little bit of news on other guys, but really now, because it's taken me so long to do these videos, it's not really news. But one story that was reported that is actually real is Callum Wilson. Now immediately that tells me straight away that that's probably Scott McCallaghan, because that guy just loves signing English players. And I can tell you as well that he's being looked at because of his homegrown status. But I've got no real context or insight in regards to this story. I think with Wilson, he's a decent player. I think that he has been affected by injury over the past few years. That's why we haven't seen a consistently strong year from him. Again, he's another player that likes to constantly move in behind defences. And he creates a lot of chances for himself due to his good movement. But at the same time, in my opinion, is he worth the money? No, he's not. He's going to cost a fortune, especially around this time. Bournemouth aren't going to sell their best striker to us in January. And in my opinion, I don't really feel the guy is an upgrade to Giroud or Morata, so I think it would be very backwards. But again, he's just a target. This wasn't me saying that we've made a big bid for him. That's not the case. And to end this video, that's in regards to some of our lone strikers, and that's Tammy Abrahams and Mitchie. Now, I have been told that if these guys do come back, they're going to be the fallback last resort options. Again, there's no real context for me to add. If you guys want the context, of course, it's all out there in the press and the media. Mitchie isn't playing as much. Tammy's doing very well at Aston Villa. And these guys would be last resort fallback options if we're not able to bring in a new striker in the next window. Now, there is talks on Hysaj, and I know that with Hysaj, he has been in the press recently. He's a player that I have been hearing about for a while. When it came to Hysaj, I was hearing about a potential move involving Zappacosta going to Napoli and us signing Hysaj. But if I'm being honest with you guys, it's a story that I haven't really been asking too much about. I've been distracted with other stories. But again, I can confirm that the press aren't making this up. It's actually real. There could be a potential move for Hysaj, and it just fits in with that profile that Sarri likes in his players. You know, he likes players, you know, from Serie A as well, because tactically they're very good, because it's a league and nation that do a lot of work and planning on tactics and the tactical side of football. Of course, Sarri has worked with him at Empoli and at Napoli as well. Now, in my opinion, I feel that he's very similar to someone like Azpilicueta. I know that he hasn't been playing as much. Maksimovic is being used as a right back, but again, that move could only happen if Zappacosta is part of the deal, or if Zappacosta gets sold, because we aren't going to bring in a right back if Zappacosta is still here. Victor Moses is definitely leaving. Now, when it comes to Moses, I was told to not name the club, but I can hint towards the club in the Premier League that are doing the most to try and sign Victor Moses. And all I can say is that they are a club from London. But anyway, you guys, that's going to bring an end to today's video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. For tomorrow, there's going to be more exclusive videos happening as well, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to be releasing a match preview later tonight as well, so I've got you guys covered for content today. Thank you for watching, and thank you for watching yesterday's video as well. Make sure you do if you haven't. I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lines TV, signing out.